Services Committee meeting. That's July the 13th at 10:45 a.m. So I want to call the meeting to order. And Mr. Baker, would you do the invocation for us?
I will be honored.
Thank you.
Our gracious Heavenly Father, we must thank you for this day and that we can come together and do your work with the Cherokee people. Please protect and bring home safely our soldiers overseas and be with their families here at home. And just bless and be with each and every one of our elders and our children as they get prepared for clothing and back to school. And just bless each and every one at this table that they might do your work. In Jesus' name, we pray. Amen.
Amen. Kelly, did you do the roll call?
Harley Buzzer.
Here.
Chris Soap.
Here.
Bill England.
Here.
John Baker.
Here.
Jack Baker.
Here.
Julia Coates. Bradley Cobb. Joe Crittenden.
Here.
Jody Fishinghawk. Meredith Rayleigh. Janelle Fulbright. Here. Don Garvin. Tana Glory Jordan. Present. Curtis Snell.
Here.
David Thornton. Kara Callan Watts. Honey, we do have a quorum.
Thank you, Shelley. I see back in our audience, I think we know everybody that's sitting out here. Thank you, people, for coming over this morning to attend our committee meeting. But I'm going to move on with the agenda for the approval of minutes. I'd like to see the approval of the special meeting on June the 14th and the regular meeting on June the 15th. Do I hear a motion?
Make a motion to be approved.
Moving second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Thank you. Let's move right on to reports, and the first one is Human Services with Norman. Norman, as usual, you have your report, but, it's been a few days, so I'd like to give you the opportunity to tell us the things you like.
School clothing vouchers, school clothing vouchers, school clothing vouchers. We don't have time much for anything. We have our largest event today is going on at Sequoia, and I understand it's standing room only. So we'll see how that goes. We have a very busy week this week. We'll be in Muskogee and we'll be in Stillwell and Tahlequah this week. So I'll probably have folks laying on the floor by the end of this week. Also, we're in the middle of our summer cooling project that I told you about last month. Those checks have started going out as of last week. We're trying to process those as they come in, but we've had a lot come in, so that we will be sending out checks weekly, one time a week, until we complete all those. I'll just tell you again who that's for, because in case you get calls. Elderly and disabled who were LIHEAP clients this fall, found eligible for that. Their eligibility continues through this summer. We don't add anybody else. We've sent those people a letter. Everyone that received services received a letter, or should have received a letter, unless they moved or something happened. And that letter would tell them that they need to send in certain information. Mostly, the most important thing is what their electric company is. And once we receive that, we process it, and if they're eligible, the average payment is about $250. So some will be less, some will be more. If you have someone that has not received a check, and you please ask them if they received a letter, and if they send in the information. If they say no, just have them contact Mr. Snell or some of his, Lisa James or Virginia Tucker, and they'll take care of it.
Norma, do you make the checks to the individual, or do you make
No, we make them to the electric company, yes. These are just electric because this is cooling.
But then you send it to the...
Send it to the company. That's why we have to
Okay.
have that information from them, so we'll know who their supplier is.
Mr. Baker.
I don't know how you did it, but the clothing vouchers is, I guess they pick better locations, and they're getting them through quicker and getting them out of the heat this year, and I appreciate that.
We've tried very hard every year to make a better location and some different, more strategic locations. We know more every year, so.
Now you kind of, the No Water Clinic, I don't think they'd ever had that many people there before, and
they weren't happy with us.
well, and one guy came out and said, "You all need to be quiet. I can't hear the patient."
Yeah.
And Like I said, they really weren't noisy. They were just kids.
They were
you know.
kids. They just haven't had to.
And,
Yeah.
But anyway.
Well, we had one of those employees come up to Dallas and say, "Make these people quit calling me. They won't quit calling me on the phone."
Well,
You think we could fix that one?
she came to me and said, "Can you get these people to quiet down?" I said, "Man, I ain't telling them nothing." I'm sorry.
Good for you.
The other thing, Norma, I think it helped too is the training that you had for the volunteers that went in to help.
Yes.
I could see that as a big help because you may have, 8 or 10 or 12 people taking the intake. So that's a big help. And then I realize, it takes a year or two to get things really lined out.
Well, we've been doing it for about 5 years, and every year you have to make changes, and every year you have different volunteers. And this year, unfortunately, a lot of our volunteers haven't shown up.
Yeah.
So you have to, they're volunteers.
Yeah.
And when they're volunteers, you can't affect that a lot, but we will make it.
Miss Jordan.
I have a question, ma'am. Oh, go ahead. I thought you were going to go ahead. It's staged what we're using, right? I noticed this past weekend, that they were having a huge sale. I hope that continues long enough that we can get our folks through there.
The stage managers have always been good to let people know to use all the edges they can for those people. And I know I can mostly speak for here in Tahlequah, that I've actually seen the staff there say, now if you'll buy this, you can get something else. And of course I've told you all this. It's one of the reasons we like to work with them. They'll break a package of underwear or socks or something open if someone's got a few dollars left to make sure that they can expend all of it. And I know if it's a few cents over, that doesn't bother me.
Well, I noticed that the kids' things were like 25 to 40% off, and that was, I want to say, maybe Sunday. So maybe the people that are getting the vouchers at Sequoia today might be able to go on down there and almost double their voucher amount.
What we try to tell people, if you have the opportunity, is, wait until they have the tax-free weekend. Watch for their sales. You can really extend your funds, and some people have really learned that over the years. So,
Ms. Fishinghoff, you had a question?
Yeah, no, I've already got to ask this question. It says the applicant must be made by a custodial parent or legal guardian.
yes.
I had a call from 2 different grandmas about that because I explained it to them. What do I tell them? It sounds horrible. We have a lot of grandparents taking care of our kids,
I know that.
and they do not go to the court and get legal guardians.
I know that. And that's a problem for us. That's what we've had to do, because when we first started, the first 2 years, we were a little more lax about that. And we had people that abused the situation. We would get reamed out by custodial parents whose non-custodial parent had come up, and as you know, with some broken families, if you look cross-eyed, at the other one, it's a problem. And so we had to go to that because of the issues that we were having. And honestly, they really don't have a right to do that. So it's, as you know, policies change because there's a problem. So we've had to tighten up over the years because we had issues. And honestly, legally, we're in the right to do that. So the other thing I would say is, if grandparents are going to keep kids, they really need to get some kind of piece of paper, because if it doesn't come face them for school vouchers, it will face them sometimes when they go to medically or school. I'm sorry, it's a soapbox issue for me, but
Well, we might need to look at through the Attorney General's office at setting something up, because I know it is a problem with school, and look at things when we've talked about it. Perhaps we can look at something, not doing something about that in our legal system, give them the funds or help them over here in our courthouse.
Ms. Watson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't know if this is a possible solution or if it should even be considered, but what if they had a letter signed by the guardian or by the parent, if they didn't have guardianship, that allowed them to go in, that they were representative of the guardian, and had the contact information on there and such, or is that just create more problems?
Well, I could write that letter, you could write that letter. We don't know who's written that letter.
Okay.
So it can, if it were notarized, or if they wanted to go to that.
Do they have a cheaper solution for guardianship in our courts? Is there a way for them to come to tribal court to seek guardianship? It's maybe something
It's
they can
possible, and that's really a question you have to ask the court, because it has to do with volume, and, they're not there every day. But that's really, money is not always the issue. The issue is they don't want to ask the children, they don't want to cause any problem in the family, and sometimes they don't know where those people are.
do? Okay.
So it's not just a money issue, although I know that is a problem for some people.
Okay. And I appreciate
Sure.
you looking at the issue. I know it has to be difficult, so thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Ms. Jordan.
There is consideration that this committee could give. The state court system used to have what they call emergency guardianships, which was the same day release of an order to like a grandparent on an emergency basis. And we could consider, we would want to work with the Attorney General's office, placing something of that idea in our own tribal court system. Those emergency guardianships are normally only good for about 30 days. And the idea is that by that time you would ripen it into a regular guardianship, or it would fall away if the emergency need is gone. So it is something that this body could consider doing by modifying the guardianship legislation that we have now that's in force. I mean, it could be taken care of. It'd be something that we would want to look at, work with the executive branch and work with the Attorney General's office and
Right.
see if that was something we'd want to explore.
The only thing I'd say is on the day they come for vouchers, there would not be anyone to help them with that
No,
process.
because the court probably wouldn't be in
Right.
in session then.
Right.
They would have to do some forward thinking and think, well, I'm going to need it in about a week, and the court will be available on Friday, and I need to get up there and get it taken care of.
That, and also the docket the court has, is there, because I know I was at court last week, and there
They're
were
operating at full
people,
capacity.
there were people sitting all over the floor, the place was packed, so,
Well, that's because they bring their whole family when they come to court. I mean, it's,
right, but it was, we had one case that was, over an hour, and when you've got that many cases, so I think there would be some issues to work through, but I certainly would be for that, because we'd love for some of those folks to have guardianship.
it's much quicker.
Protects them.
It's much quicker and much cheaper. And that may be the only thing you'll be able to get done for those folks, but it would be something good for them in the future to have too. Because I don't think they can take kids to Hastings without some sort of, they're supposed to
They
have some sort
honestly
of
shouldn't be able
guardianship
to.
on file.
But I get those calls, and I know you all get those calls all the time, people wanting help for those children, and honestly, they have no legal rights.
Most of them can't afford to use the state court to set up a guardianship because of the cost and because of the annual accounting and the things that they have to file. The tribal court's a little more lenient in their guardianships, and we might explore that emergency guardianship idea.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Fishing-Hawk, you had a question or comment?
I was just going to bring up the emergency guardian.
Okay. Ms. White, you had a follow-up?
Thank you. I understand trying to address the guardianship issues in general, but I don't understand just if we're headed in the direction to bog the courts down with emergency guardianship for the voucher. So I'm not quite sure where that's headed, but I just want to throw that out before we get to the next step. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Ms. Philbrook?
I just want to thank you for moving the location down in our district to Sallisaw High School, because last year we had some major problems. Everybody's out in the heat, and the main problem was the air conditioning system wasn't working inside the building, and Councilman Baker went to Dollar General and bought some fans and set up, and Mr. Sutherland sent an emergency crew down there, and by 11 o'clock we had the air conditioning back on, but it was terrible, not only for people waiting, but your staff. I mean, I asked, what can we do for you? And I walked in there, and in the little individual offices, the air conditioning was working, but in the big common room, oh, it was just like an oven. And you can imagine all these little kids, and people keep bringing their kids with them because they think they have to. And we tried to tell them, well, of course, some of them don't have anybody to leave them with anyway.
Right.
But I was just happy that it was at Salisbury High School in the Commons area so that it'll be cool for them.
You'll probably see more high schools next year, especially in Nowata.
Well, thank you. That's good to get these people out of the heat because we had a record crowd last year. It was all around the Housing Authority parking lot out in the heat. And we were handing out water, but it worked out. Your staff seemed to move everybody along real quickly, but it was still a long day.
Always
you.
is. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dawn. Next up is Community Services. Charlie Soap, please.
Morning, everybody.
Good morning. I know we've got your report, Charlie, but I'm going to give you an opportunity to tell us something that may have went on between now and when the report was made. And then there may be some questions from the committee members that you want to ask you. So is there anything you want to tell us right off the top that you may not have reported on?
Well, there's a couple of things. First of all, I'd like to say that for the veterans, there's a Fairmore is going to have their activity at the Fairmore Veteran Center. All veterans are welcome to attend. If you want to come, we'd be glad to have you. And be notified that there will be a band that's going to be performing there. And also, as far as housing, the Fairfield project is Jody might be interested in this. Jody, Fairfield housing, as the water line construction part is coming to a halt because they found an arrowhead and some bones, so we have to notify the Office of Environmental. Hopefully we don't have to do an environmental review, but that's where we are on that. The roads also are under construction, and we probably have to hold off on that till further notice. So if you hear any complaints, we're not doing anything, that's the reason. So as far as that, Redbird is still, we're working there, and again, the weather has slowed us down considerably, but other than that, we're moving along as rapidly as we can. So as far as other housing, we are, the construction's going well, and if you have any questions about it, so.
Mr. Becker.
Yeah, Charlie, I've got 3 or 4 questions. The lumber that is out there, the chief has sent us a deal saying that the programs are going to use the lumber for other sources and all, but there is going to be some that's not going to be usable. And we passed a resolution last night to allow the administration to give it away or to donate it or auction it, I guess anything. But any idea when you might know how that's going to happen? I'm getting emails and stuff of folks wanting to know. I mean, some of them all they want to do is cut up and garn it for wood. Others are wanting to use it for porches and all on their mobile homes, and that number would be fine for that. Because even some of the big rotten boards, there's 8 foot on each end that's good. It's just rotten there right in the heart. But do we have any idea who
Well, I don't really know because right now some of the departments are looking at it. I think Rehab is involved, and also the natural resources have been involved. All the departments have been involved on proper disposing of the items. So as far as the leftovers, the bad stuff, I can't say right now, but we are moving on it, and we'll keep everybody abreast on what's going on.
Yeah, if you could, because like I say, I do have some folks that are, they're wanting for reasonable uses that I could see we wouldn't even use it for. And, but anyway, as you get closer, if you could let me know or let everybody know what the process is.
Okay.
And maybe you know this, maybe you don't, but Mike Miller said that this was 5% of those self-help housing. But when I think of that 5% of the self-help housing, and they're SIP panel homes, where are the SIP panels for those?
What was that about SIP panels?
Well, he said this was 5% of the lumber, of the $1 million that, for a self-help housing program. And there was numbers on this lumber that obviously identified house sites or something. And we didn't use this lumber for the interior walls, because that's all you use it lumber for in those houses.
Right.
It's just the interior walls. And so if we didn't build the houses, where are the SIP panels? And of that $1 million, there's concrete, there's heat and air units, there's sheetrock, there's all this other stuff.
SIP panels are constructed at Cherokee. We construct those ourselves.
Okay.
And so all the materials have been purchased, and for that, and as far as the how we've calculated that, those are included in there. So the SIP panels are constructed there, and as far as the material, we may have to purchase more material to make up for that, but we'll look at that.
But I'm just saying, you know, this lumber,
I know
if
what
it
you're
was for
saying.
that,
I know what you're saying.
it was probably enough to do,
Yeah.
I don't know.
We'll make it work, Bill. We'll make it work.
Okay. Then it brings me to the next question. Last week in the Indian Housing Plan, it said that those self-help houses were going to cost us $120,000 a house. And I just can't get it. And can you get a breakdown of that or something?
We can get a breakdown of that.
Because, you know, I can build a 1,200 square foot house for $60,000, $70,000. And that's not any self-help involvement. That's just turnkey.
But ours house would probably be better than that.
Well,
We put better materials in there.
I mean, I build with SIP panels as well.
Well insulated, Bill, as you know.
No, but I build with SIP panels as well. I've got I got 2 duplexes in my house, and
Is that the same company we went to? We looked at in Muskogee?
No, well, yeah, I did get the SIP panels from them.
That's what I thought, yeah.
Yeah, I did get SIP
I think
panels
ours
from
is
them.
better grade than what you got.
Huh?
I think ours is better grade than what we saw in Muskogee.
I see. Well, they're engineered and big
I
old
saw what you had over there.
certifications, but anyway, I just, and if we're making our own SIP panels, we ought to be able to make them cheaper than what you can buy them, you know, out there on the market. If you could get a breakdown of how we're spending, you know, $100 a foot to build a self-help house.
We'll do that.
Okay.
Charlie, you might try to work on that and get it to it for the next committee meeting then.
Okay, we can do
Okay.
that.
And I have Councilor Fishing Hawk, you had a comment or question?
Oh, I was just going to tell you, Belmont Church had called, and another church requested some excess lumber, and I was just going to pass that along to you. And the other thing is,
I think we got an email on that from them too. Okay.
and the other thing is, I appreciate how quick Beverly got back to me on the problem with the camps. She straightened it out within 2 or
Good.
3 hours, and I appreciate that.
Okay.
Because I got to explain it to them, so thank you.
Well,
Councilor Jordan, you have a question?
Charlie, I had half a dozen folks that have emailed or called me about the lumber, and they're willing to even sign whatever documents it takes to show that they would never consider using it on a house. It's mostly they would like to use it for cover for outside things. And so if you could get, and I've sent those requests to the chief's office.
Okay.
But if you all could give those folks some
we'll look at it
consideration.
and then see what the outcome is of how they're going to, see
And-
what department's going to use it.
And they must all got together because the requests were all just about the same. So I think the public's out there having little meetings and visiting about the lumber. So if we do have some of any kind left over, if you would consider those folks, I certainly appreciate it.
I'll get with you later on.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I still have a question.
Councilor Charlie, we have a couple more here. Don't sit down yet, we got a couple more.
I appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Charlie, could you just, I know that the chief did an excellent job in outlining kind of what his findings were and path forward, but I would like to hear a little bit more about how we're going to maybe prevent that from happening if there's a way, because I do like the self-help program as it's structured. But it was, I guess my alarming concerns were, one, the wood wasn't covered, and I felt like we had storage probably somewhere. And then how are we going to try to do the inventory to do more on-demand?
Yeah. Well, it's like
Not
I
to get in your
said.
business, but just
Yeah, unfortunately, the material was ordered, and we just didn't have the storage place to put it. And actually, I was out of town when all that was happening, so I was making phone calls back and forth when the material was coming in. But the nation stepped in and moved some things out of the way of the warehouses to put some materials in, but not enough. And we were in process of building a metal building to put the lumber in, store the materials and stuff like that, but we were rejected by HUD on 2 sites, so it really took us down because we were going to put up a metal building, put storage in right there by the propane tank, right there, because of HUD requirements. They said we couldn't do it. So that set us back. So we were desperately trying to find a location, and finally, after several months, we decided we would put the building up at Cherokee. That's what the building's there to. And we even thought about maybe trying to put something down towards Bull Hollow, so we could it'd be more feasible if we went up north to materials. But we knew we would have to do something to build a building to put the materials in. So, but we're not going to let that happen again, because I think that we learned a great deal from this, and it's unfortunate that it happened, and but that's not going to happen again. I can guarantee you that. So in the process, we're taking the application through with the people, and we're getting all the applications in place, so the proper process is taken into account.
And I know you've had difficulties in my area. We've had those candies, but I appreciate your candidness.
Well, that's fine.
And taking ownership. Thank you so much.
You bet. Okay.
Thank you.
Councilor Snell, that's a question or comment? Any more questions for Charlie? Thanks, Charlie. Next up is Road and Transportation with Michael. I see Barry Hood is here for the report.
Good morning. You have the report. There's just a few things that started asphalt on the Dry Creek project in Cherokee County this morning. It was scheduled to start asphalting last week, but of course all the rain. The Salina Kenwood rehab project is more or less completed, waiting on striping and some signs. That project should be wrapping up here pretty quick. County Commissioner Melvin Pritchett is doing some shoulder work up there also during this construction. So that's the projects that we have going. Rice Woodard, there's some base rock being laid on the Rice portion of that road. They continued to work last week through the rain, doing the ag base process, trying to finish up the fill area there on the Woodward. That's the projects that we have under construction right now. Any questions?
I got Councilor Toth.
I just want to have a comment, Barry, if you take it back to Michael. We got a lot of positive comments from the road work done over that way, and really do appreciate it.
The Salina Kenwood project got a lot of press and a lot of attention. It was a hot in-place recycling, which is relatively new to this area.
Right. And the timeline seems to be what people were most impressed with. And so what was the start to finish date on that?
The hot in place was a 1-inch hot in place recycling where they heat the asphalt up, mix it, and lay it back down as they're going through, and it goes pretty quick. They've done 11.5 miles within just a little over a week on the hot in place. And then they came back with a 3/4 inch ultra thin bonded asphalt on top of that, and it also took about a week, maybe 8 days to complete.
They are going to do some shoulder work.
Yes, Melvin's doing that now. He actually started on that Monday.
Right.
And then they got to come back in and finish the striping, signs, and then one section of guardrail.
Okay. Thank you.
Councilor Baker.
Yeah. What do you know about Grace Hudlin Road?
Grace Hudlin Road, it's in design right now. It's It's been in design for a while, but I can check on the status on that as to where it's at.
If you would, because it's been in design for years.
Right.
Years.
I will check on that.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Jordan, you had a question?
On the Dry Creek Road, Barry, are they starting on the Dry Creek part and coming around? Is that, isn't that gonna come out by the cemetery?
No, that's the Barber Road.
Okay, so the barber's gonna start off the highway, come by the cemetery and go around.
Go around to the Dry Creek Bridge there
Okay.
on the actual Dry Creek project.
Now, when will we start that?
The design is fairly complete on that, and I think,
I saw quite a few of the survey stakes out there the other
Right.
day.
I'm not sure what the timeline is as far as when it's going to bid out. I think there's some utility relocation that's fixing to take place, and it'll be, I would say, maybe this winter or next spring, possibly.
There at the cemetery, are we gonna go very far back up into the parking area?
I'm not sure how far up into that area we're going.
Would you care to check?
Okay.
Because if we go back up in the parking area, we're gonna take the bottom part of the cemetery, I think, to straighten that out. And that's where a lot of those graves were relocated from Tinkiller. And a lot of them don't even have stones. And I just want to make sure we didn't get over into
We'll stay as far away from them as we
Yeah,
can.
I
But I'll
just want to
check.
let you, there's a lot of them on that lower end that it may look like there's nothing buried there, but it's just because they were relocated, nobody
Okay.
ever put stones.
I will have them check on that, and I'll check with the designer and see how far up in there they're going.
Yeah, I was looking at your survey stakes, and I didn't know if you were going all the way to your survey stakes. I didn't think you would, but if you did, I was afraid you were going to get that bottom in. And Dad always said there was quite a few down there that didn't have stones.
Okay.
And it looks like there's nothing down there, but I think if you start digging, you may run into some.
Okay, I will check on that and see and advise them of that.
Okay.
Councilor Watt?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, Claremore Indian Hospital signage, is your group cooperating with everybody else to help on planning signage for the Claremore Indian Hospital?
I'm not aware of that project.
Okay, I've spoken to Michael Lynn about it, and I would appreciate that you guys work to drive the planning of placement in cooperation with folks like ODOT or the City of Claremore, which I've already gotten City of Claremore sign off, but I can help you formally go through to help plan for that. Even if we don't pay for it, we need to help do the planning
Okay.
and get all the agreements in place and their budget, and even the other tribes will pay for it even if we won't. They've already said.
I can check with Michael on that and see when he gets back and
Okay,
make sure he's aware of it.
thank you.
Ms. Fulbright, you had a question?
Yes, thank you. I think it was last month that Mr. Michael Lynn told us the contract was going to be let June the 17th for the Nycut South road improvements. Do you know anything about that? Was
Yeah,
it?
it has been, we've opened bids on that project, and I don't think it's been awarded yet, but it's very close to being awarded.
Good. Okay, that's
So-
what I wanted to know. I want to see some progress over there. It's been 35 years since that road was put in, and it really needs it.
Yes, and they're actually supposed to start on the Nycut North portion, which is in Adair County, in another couple of weeks. And if it's awarded, the same contractor will move over onto that project.
Thank you.
Barry, what's the status on the road from Kenwood to Highway 59? I know there were some bridge issues about it. I know the county was going to do some design, and have we moved along with them anymore and got any design done, or what are we waiting on?
Guy Engineering, I think, is working on some of those bridges, and I'm not sure of the status on those right now. I can check, and I'll make sure that Michael's aware of that.
Okay. And the other thing is to follow up on Clouds Creek Road on the motor fuel tax. I know the last report we got from the commissioner was going to start about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and I realized it's rain, but has he moved any materials out there at all?
The last time I went through there, it was the same as it had been.
I would appreciate it if you just follow up with that letter. They did a letter to him about 2 months ago and ask him where he is on that project. That's been laying up there almost a year, and we need to kind of move him along.
I will check on that.
Okay. Any more questions for Barry? I want to move on, Barry. Just the next one is public comments, and we always have that standing for Michael Lynn. It's an open agenda item, so I don't hear or see anybody here for public comments. So thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Next is housing with David Sullivan. Good morning. Good morning, David.
Just a couple of things. Housing Authority Board meeting this Friday at noon over at the Housing Authority building. I've got a couple of disclosures to make. James and Leola Lee, sister to Housing Services employee Benny Bush, getting some rehab. And we've got Alicia Shade, niece of Housing Services employee Stephanie Carroll, and Chad Allen, son of Housing Services employee Leona Allen. They're going to be participating in the mutual help program. One of them may be mutual help, one of them may be rural rental or in the HOSTA program. That's the disclosures. Next week I'll be in Seattle at the negotiated rulemaking along with some other folks from the tribe. That's going pretty well. We're getting to some of the sticky issues, and Marvin's continues to hang in there, and he sticks up for what he feels is right, as you all know that he will, and puts, if PUD tries to do something that's not right, well, Marvin's the first one that's up leading the charge against him. So that's basically all I got to report today.
Mr. Jordan had a question.
David, I know at some of the Housing Authority meetings that you all talked about the cost of building a traditional stick-built brick home. And I know you had gotten some figures together pertaining to those questions that the Housing Authority Board had asked you. Can you share with us what it would cost to do a complete turnkey on a 3-bedroom, 2-bath brick home, somewhat similar to the Title VI or similar to the mutual help that we used to build? Have you gotten costs together for them on about what that was going to cost?
It's been a while since I give them any type of cost like that on a. Really, all it depends on what your utilities are going to cost you. I mean, if the
what's the replacement homes costing you, where you're having to replace them completely? I know you just did one here in Cherokee County because of a structural defect.
We did. It was approximately probably $1,300 or $1,300 square feet, maybe without the garage, and it was. Of course, the utilities are all there, so we didn't have to install any of those, but it was about $100,000, not counting the demolition of the old house.
And you took that house down to the ground and came back from the ground up, as I recall.
Well, we actually moved it off of that particular pad and moved it
so it was
50 feet away or something.
Of course, the land, well, you would have had to got that land ready, I guess, then. But the utilities were already there at the home site, or pretty close there too.
Yeah.
And it was replaced with a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, as I recall.
Yes.
And it was brick.
Yeah.
I believe they bricked it, because you know the one I'm talking about. And so it was basically turnkey, and we can do them for $100,000.
Well, $100,000 just for a home.
Okay.
When you're talking about putting in a septic tank or an aerobic system, in most anymore are aerobic systems, water and those types of things, it could be as much as $12,000, $13,000 more at least.
Okay.
You have to deal with those. Luckily, those are already in
I'm just in my
effect.
mind trying to compare that to our self-help idea, which I'm all for self-help, but our packages are going to cost us start next year around $120,000, and that's not building the home. That's providing the materials and the expertise of certain portions of that home to be built. Plus, some of those homes I think are taken in the neighborhood of, well, I've been watching some of them on the list. They've been on there for a number of years. So I'm just kind of wondering if we maybe shouldn't be, as a body, considering at some point modifying self-help to maybe let's build the house, get them in the house, and let them do the self-help part at some other part of the tribe where we need labor or need other things to be done. The old self-help concept didn't always involve working right on your site. It involved doing other things, and maybe we need to be thinking about that, because if we are putting a package out there that's costing us more than what it would cost to build a home, and we're letting them take somewhere in the neighborhood of a couple of years to build the home, we could do a turnaround job for less, get them in the home, and let them do the self-help concept part on a different part of the tribe. It's certainly something for you all to think about, and that was one replacement home that I knew about. What if we envision maybe contracting out 10 to 15 homes at a time? That's going to bring the cost down even further. We're not even talking 100,000 then. Folks, I just think there's going to come a day when we're going to have to better spend our housing dollar. I want the people to be involved, but wouldn't it be nice to get them in the house, get them, their family being able to use the house, and let's involve the self-help concept in another department of the tribe, or that department, but have them doing something different, not necessarily just working on just their housing unit. I really throw this out to this committee that we really need to look at the housing plan, and this is nothing against what's being done now. It's just I think we're learning from what we're doing now, and maybe we can do it just a little bit better. And I wish you all would give that some thought. It just happened that I remember them talking about it at the Housing Authority meeting, because that we go down there and listen to their meeting. But I also remember this other house because I had talked to this lady, and I knew it was quite a bit less than what our housing packages were costing us. And I realize we've got to do utilities, but there's also another department that comes under, that we were, at one time when we were doing the old self-help, the old mutual help, we were going to the other department to get their water and sanitation done. So we sure need to think about this, and that is not an attack on anyone else that's working in housing. It's just that we're learning from what we're doing over the past couple of years. We as a committee need to think about doing this just a little bit better, tweaking it, modifying it continuously, so that we can maybe get a little more for our dollars.
And I would be willing to call a special meeting just to talk about it. I don't think it does us good to talk about it. And, I think Ms. Story made some good points. And I just want to say this, that I remember back when the old mutual help home was being built, and we were, went into that sweat equity for a while, and then again it turned out that we just contracted the whole jobs, and now we're in the self-help program again. And I've just watched some of these Title VI homes and some of these self-help homes. If you'll go by and look at those homes now, they're, in my opinion, they're better maintained. And I think a lot of that is because those people actually went and worked on those houses. But, maybe we just need to take a survey and look at those things. I know there's some Title VI homes just up the road from where I live, and those are well-maintained homes. They went out and paid for those homes. But then next to them there's another self-help home, exactly what we're talking about now, and he really takes care of that house. So I don't know. There's pros and cons, but I think Ms. Jordan's made some good points. But we need to take a look at it and see what we're doing, in the future too. So I know it takes some time to get things going. But I have Councilor Crittenden and Baker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll just be real brief. David, I can see that what Tanya was talking about, the program that we used to have. Seems like we've got a housing program going with our MAP program and all, and some of the other programs that we're using. And that seems to be, to me, the only missing part of the puzzle, or to make it whole or complete. And so I'd be in favor of discussing that, or seeing if we couldn't bring it back in a way, to maybe not our total program, but make it a part of it. I think that'd be a good idea.
Thank you. Mr. Baker.
Yeah, and folks, it's a whole lot easier to maintain a brick house than it is a wood-sided house. I don't care who you are or where you're at. You know, once that brick's up, the weed eater's not getting into it. It doesn't rot. It doesn't need painted. It doesn't. I mean, they're just once you do the brick, you're done on on the outside. And the house that David's saying, 1,300 square feet, did it have a garage?
Yeah.
Yeah, 1,300 square foot of living space, but he also put a garage on it, and he built it on a pretty unstable piece of property that they had to put a whole lot of extra concrete in so that they didn't have the same problem again. Accurate?
That's accurate.
Yeah, and then also that 100,000 included tearing down and demolishing and.
No, it did
not?
No.
Okay, I didn't think it. But it, and it's like Tina said, if you hire somebody to do one house, it's going to cost you more than if you give them 10. I mean, to the point that, I'm building duplexes right now for $50 a foot, and it's just, this $100 a foot, and then doing 40% of the work it's just not registering with me, and on the self-help side, and we can turn a brick home for $75 a foot. Is that what it came out to?
Yeah, if I don't have a calculator in front of me, I look at the wrong guy anymore.
But 75 or 80, and I just, something's not getting it.
Well, my only response to the whole thing, because I won't speak for Charlie, because Charlie certainly can speak for himself. But I think that they're looking at the program to see how they can better it and make better uses of the resources that they have and still accomplish the same goals.
Good. I'm glad to hear that, David, that they are taking a look at it. And I wouldn't mind having another housing meeting to talk about it again. So we may want to do that in the future, but we'll see. Councilor Soap, you had a comment or question?
Yeah, David, I need to talk to you about the issue right after this
Okay.
meeting, if you got a little bit of time. The other question I have is it possible that you could forward us those analysis sheets for building homes, maybe the one that Councilor Baker's talking about? I know there's a lot of detailed stuff. I'm not necessarily interested in that, but I know you probably do spreadsheets for that particular project or for tracking measures, and was just wondering, how you get that organized and the different costs with the roughing and all the different electrical work and that type of stuff, to where we can see the total cost. If you can give me a sheet like that, I'd sure would appreciate it. It's pretty standard that you guys are looking at. It's not something that's been modified to just, but something that's routine.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Thank you.
Councilor Pro-Brian, you had a question?
Yes, I have a question. The Sam Ed Bush edition at Sallisaw, there are some folks there who keep their yards immaculate, and others seem to always let it grow up till it's like a hay meadow, and then they mow. There's a house the people have vacated at the corner of Dogwood and Redwood, and the granny lady that always lived there kept it just so perfect. She passed away, and I guess her family decided to let the house go back, so it's vacant. And Johnson grass is getting on up there in certain areas.
It's right there on the corner.
Yeah, and I don't know. Well, my question is, who is responsible to?
My staff.
Okay, well, they're behind.
Well, they are. And,
well, everybody is in with their home yard. I understand,
Exactly.
but I go by there all the time, and it was always
If
the
you
show
see
place.
one, if anybody sees one that they know that's probably ours, don't hesitate to call us, because we don't want them to be grown up either. We've actually hired some help to help keep those mowed, but it is a chore. It was a chore last year, and usually you don't run into that year after year, but man, it's
so
been the
much
same
rain.
way this year.
Okay, well, I'm just going to bring that to your attention because it really needs to be mowed. It was just always so beautiful.
I'm hearing the same thing from my wife at my house. I could really mow about every 4 days, but it gets it about every 7 days.
So you do have some.
Yeah, we have folks that are out doing
Okay,
it.
all right, thank you.
Councilor Jordan.
David, I do want to commend your staff and yourself because down Willis Road, you turn down Willis Road and then turn back at that first four-way and go back in there. There was an acre that, for some reason, nobody knew for sure who owned it. And it's been determined that y'all had the ownership and you went in there and I think you're trying to clean it up. And the neighborhood is very appreciative of it because it had become somewhat snake infested.
Well, I can understand why. I didn't know we had that, but there's, I think there's actually 2 lots right there together that,
Well, there's
we didn't
actually,
build on.
that neighborhood behind was actually one of our group of homes. And then, I think the folks in front were the ones that had first said something to me, and I think they also said something to, Mr. Baker. Was the elderly gentleman that said something to you? Okay. Yes, Mr.
I met the elderly gentleman. He was a little, I was a little scared of him, so we got on that pretty quick.
He's retired security from Northeastern.
Yeah.
Head of security.
But, yeah, I'd always thought that we only owned the ones that had houses on them. And those 2, we didn't, and he knew the story, didn't perk. And that's exactly why we didn't use those.
Well, he kept telling me that y'all owned it, and I couldn't find anybody that would admit.
Yeah.
And
we did a little research,
you had
and
one
sure
of
enough.
your folks look into it, and he did a real good job. And he went out and talked to him, and I think he's went and talked to the other folks there in the addition that we created a long time ago. And I think they're all real happy now.
Good deal.
Ms. Fraley.
Just a brief comment in line with what Ms. Fulbright said. At Cherokee Heights, you might want to move your crew from there down to Sepolia County because they did an excellent job at Cherokee Heights. I drove through there a couple of weeks ago and it was just immaculate.
Good. That's good. That's a big job down there because there's a lot of grass.
Okay, any more questions for David? David, thank you. And moving on to the Commerce Housing Report. Shay, you're going to do it for Anna?
Yes.
Good morning. Morning.
You should have a copy of our report, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Okay, any questions? Okay. Well, Shay, looks like you got a good report. Good. So, no questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to old business, I see none. New business, a resolution authorizing the Department of Children, Youth and Family Services to submit an application for funding to the Oklahoma Office of Juvenile Affairs for emergency use shelter services and preservation and diversion services. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Moving on to announcements. Are there any announcements? Ms. Jordan.
It's not an announcement, but I would request of the chair that we do set up a sub-housing meeting so that we could more explore our Nahasa housing.
Okay. I'll try to get something set up that may work in with some of our future meeting dates. Okay? Councilor Soto.
Yeah, I just want to say that on the 17th, I believe it is we've got a farmer's market there prior. They're having a Cherokee Cultural Heritage Day in combination with the farmer's market. So pretty interesting concept. And if anybody wants to see how it works.
Is that located downtown? Or?
Yeah, it's at the courthouse area.
We can put that on our calendar, so.
It's a Cherokee Heritage Cultural Day at the farmer's market there. I'll send Shelley some information.
Okay. Any more announcements? I hear a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Shelley.